To get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Alexis. I have been in real estate for 5 or so years now. I knew right when I was in high school that I wanted to get into real estate. My parents are both realtors. My dad did new construction when I was very little. So I kind of had real estate in my brain from a very young age. Actually, I took night school to get my real estate license my senior year, and then got like I think probably 2 weeks from graduating the real estate class and found out that I had to have my high school diploma or GED. So I finished the class out. I was like, well, I've been this far. I might as well obviously finish my high school career. So I did that. And then once I got out of high school, I went back to school for real estate and then I acquired my license a couple years later.
So you got your license when you were like 18?
I was like 20.
20, okay, I
Yeah,
got
so like I said, I worked in jewelry a little bit prior. So like I said, there was some pause in between, but I got distracted. But after I got my license, I was like full throttle, full ahead.
So what originally really attracted you to real estate? Was like your family was involved in real estate? Like what originally got that all that
Yeah.
started?
Like I said, so it was kind of rolled around like one shape or form. My parents aren't really the typical retail real estate agents. They do flipping as well and stuff like that, work with an investor and a partner. And I originally got my license. I was like, no, I'm going to be like the retail real estate agent. I'm going to go and show houses all the time. And I tried it for a little bit and nothing wrong with it. Didn't love it, hate it. But then my dad was doing this and he was flipping with a partner. And my dad got really sick one day and he was basically put in a coma, airlifted to John Hopkins. He was down with the count for a while. And I have two younger siblings. So my mom went with him to Baltimore, and I stayed here trying to, take care of my younger siblings. We had like an 8.5 and I think 12 or 13 year gap between all of us. So I'm the big sister.
How old were you at this time?
I was 20,
Oh, okay.
like 20, about to turn 21. And so like, obviously my dad couldn't keep his projects maintaining and his partner has like a huge wheelhouse to turn. Like he does stuff with other people. He's got his own thing going. So I was like, well, I'm going to try it. Like there's nothing better than, I mean, I can't screw it up. They're sitting there not doing anything. So if I can go in and try to figure it out, that's some type of forward momentum because that's just like my natural personality is like, go, 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 go and get it done. So I dabbled in it and I definitely was not perfect at it. I definitely made a lot of mistakes, still make mistakes. But I got us through. And we had been working with contractors for a couple years. So kudos to them for like doing their job. But if anyone has worked with contractors in the past, you kind of have to like give them a little nudge here and there.
It's like a baby. It's like a babysitting.
Literally. I'm like, yeah. So did that. And then once my dad was out of the hospital, it was a couple months and we all went to lunch one day, my dad and his investor. And he's like, you like did decent at it. Like I wouldn't want to say natural at it because it definitely was not natural, but he's like, you kind of have an act for it. He's like, do you like it? And I was like, well, I feel like I'm not working. So I think so. Yeah. And he ended up offering me like a mentorship / job. So I started working for him. And he has taught me, him and his wife and my dad have literally taught me everything I've acquired about this business because there's a lot that goes into flipping houses. It's not like HGTV makes it out. It's like, oh, we've got a house. Like, bing, 5 minutes later, beautiful work we've done. Like, it's a lot harder than that.
All that happens like they're 1 week. They're like,
yeah.
Right there. Boom.
And they probably have like 50 crew members and we have like 5 and they want to be off by 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Contractors. That's their thing. Love it. It's a love and hate relationship, I feel, like with anything. So like I said, so I worked for him. He had writing office guys. He has like a really huge crew. So I got to touch on lots of different parts of it, like the buying side, the wholesaler side, the actual rehab side, which that is a forever learning experience. I feel like I am still learning this day and age how to flip houses properly because, when you're doing flip houses, you don't pay retail pricing. You have to find that specific niche contractor that work with you on pricing, but you're giving them consistent business. So it's like not like you're just taking from them. It's a give and a take on both sides. We're providing them with business year round, and they give us better pricing to kind of hopefully get our house to the finish line.
When you were first getting started, what was like the favorite thing that kind of drives you to do it? Like, hey, I really like doing this. I really don't like doing this. Like, you know how in there's certain things you love and you don't like.
Yeah, for sure. The hardest part was probably trying to acquire contractors, to be honest, just because at this point, I was probably 21, and contractors, not every single contractor is the nicest person out there. So they look at a 21 little girl and they're like, she knows nothing about real estate. She knows nothing about rehabbing. And at the time I didn't, but I had people that were overseeing, watching me, making sure I wasn't getting ripped off, even though it did happen a couple times. I will be the first one to say I did get taken advantage of, but it took me one time, never again. Because you learn to become very hard in this industry. I'm a very open, loving person, very outgoing, but I got taken advantage of, and I was like, all right, this is not happening. We're not going to walk all over me just because I'm a young woman. Not to get political, but so you have to make the conscious effort to really okay, I know my stuff, and you have to acquire it somehow. So I had to do a lot of research. And I just didn't have a team. I had to go out and find my own team of contractors.
Yeah.
So I would, not while I'm driving, but stoplights, stuff like that. People have car cabinets, parking lots of Home Depots, Lowe's. I would just go in and I was like, I'm going to talk to these people. They've got an electrical shirt on. I'm going to take a picture of their shirt and be like, hi, I'm Alexis. Do you want to work for me? So that's really how I acquired a lot of my people, just trying to go out there and find them myself, because they're not going to fall in your lap.
So when you were saying that the experience that you went through that you got taken advantage of, can you tell us kind of what happened and what would be if you could go back to do that? What would be what you would do differently so that didn't actually happen?
Yeah, again? For sure. It was a drywall guy, and it was one of the very first ones I was managing on my own completely. And I was like, all right, I know enough. I'm doing it for about a year. I'm going to be a big girl on my own. Well, it was a peculiar house. There was a lot of drywall work that needed to be done, a lot of detailed work. There was plaster involved, and I hadn't really done too much plaster work. And my normal drywall guy that I had been using was busy, and I was like, all right, I'm trying to keep stuff moving. Let me get this new guy. And he told me this price, and I was so busy, in a rush. I'm like, all right, I was too focused on my timeline opposed to looking at the full big picture. I was like, all right, just do it, trying to be nice and thinking, oh yeah, he's not going to take advantage of me. Well, I ended up probably paying double, and I ended up just paying for it out of my own pocket because I felt so bad. And that was the key moment. I'll never forget that. And I ran into him at Lowe's one time, and I was like, I see you. I'm like, no. We're not friends now.
So was he just not? So what did they do? Did he just keep asking for money, not finish the job, or?
No, he just basically overcharged me, to be honest. And like I said, it's because I was too focused on one thing, and I had tunnel vision. I was like, all right, just get it done. I don't care, because at that point, I was already probably a week or two behind where I wanted to be on my schedule. And drywall is kind of in the beginning for your electrical rough ends and stuff like that. Once you get the house painted, stuff really starts to trickle, I feel. So I was
Did you pay him all up at front, or did you pay him like on thirds? Or?
I will never pay anybody until the work is done. I did this one time. I did pay somebody the full completion job right before Christmas, because they had done probably 80% of the work on the job, and he's like, all right, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, pay me, I'm almost done, I'm probably be back. I was like, okay, I'll do it, and paid him. Found out he was driving a suspended license that I had no idea about, and ended up in jail. So I never got the rest of my job done, and I had to pay somebody else to do it. So
what do you do now to avoid that? What do you do with your contractors?
Yeah, so like I said, I tell them up front, I'm not paying you in the beginning. It's different if it's something huge where I'll give them draws if need be, but I need to see the work that's completed completely before I give you a draw, before I finish paying you. If a roofer wants to come get paid, he's like, all right, I finished your roof. I need to come out and vet it and make sure it's done properly. You don't have any hills, that the starter tab's done right, all that kind of thing like that. So I will go out there. I usually like to systemize it to where I pay people on Fridays or a week out, basically, because it makes my life easier, especially once you get multiple jobs running and you've got different contractors at different jobs. money is very managed, and everybody always wants to get paid immediately. And I'm like, well, I check it. And if you have 5 jobs running, and that's probably like 15 hands and checks going out, you need to make sure that you're not spending all your time just running around giving people money. So if you systematize it and say, okay, payday's Friday, payday's a week from the completion of the job, it's a lot easier that way for me to kind of sit down, do billing all at once, do some concentrated work, and then either I post them out front of my office and I take a picture and I'm like, hey, here's your check, come get it. Or if I'm going to be going out that way, I don't mind, and I'll be like, okay, come meet me at this house.
So do you do all your own inspections?
Like on the buying side, before we buy a property?
Yeah, but when a job's supposed to be done, like the roof is half, when they say this is done, do you always go out there and check?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I need to make sure, especially if it's like a new contractor. Definitely got to make sure it's done to my standards, because I don't want any, excuse my language, but half-ass work, and me paying full price for it.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing. Always check behind people. Nobody's perfect, so you kind of always have to make sure that what you're getting what you pay for, basically.
Do you ever get nervous about like them like cutting a lot of corners and like stuff, like when you rip out like a bathroom and stuff, like you can cut so much corners through the remodeling process? Do you ever get worried that they like made us skip the step just to save them money or anything like
Yeah,
that?
for sure. And that's why, like, when I do hire new people, I make sure I'm there. I'm a very hands-on person, and because I didn't have a lot of knowledge 5 years ago, I have really made it a goal of mine to like be in the field and see and work hand in hand with these contractors, so they can teach me. You have to build up a relationship with them enough to know, like, okay, they do know what they're doing. And I always call references. I won't just hire Joe Schmo off the street without calling some references. A lot of them, a lot of them have Facebook pages. I can check behind and see their work. But I've been doing this long enough where I've really got a good crew of people to where I know they are very solid. They know what they're doing. Yeah. And that's the first thing I tell them. I said, we're not going to be one of those that cut corners, and that all comes back to bite you in the end. I don't want any of that. I like to sleep at night, so we do
very true.
My contract would eat me alive.
So when looking for a potential flip, what do you look for?
I don't have necessarily like a particular criteria. The investor I work with does all of Hampton Roads, so I like to try to stay on the south side, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk, and I'll dabble a little bit in Suffolk. Suffolk's pretty big, so I try to stay on closer side of Suffolk. Mm-hmm. I try to stay away from 100-plus-year-old homes, especially out in Norfolk, just because you get into a lot of foundation issues and a lot of stones. It can become very costly, and once you start peeling back layers of the onion, you got to fix it.
And right. Yeah.
I'm not going walking through a property and like knocking through the wall. I'm like, oh, yep, no. So there's only so much you can see when you're walking physically through a property, and using your senses, like, okay, this floor is a little wonky. It's got a lean to it, stuff like that. So obviously, I will do them if I have to and the money's right, but it has to be a repair to profit ratio that works for us.
Yeah. So what do you usually look for when you do like when you're looking for your criteria? Let's say you find it. Are you trying to find your certain margins of like, hey, I want to make like $30,000-$40,000 in this, or 30-40%, or what do you?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, if it's like $50,000 rehab, we're not going to do it just for like $10,000. It's got to be worth time, because there's a lot of time. Usually, the higher the repair number, the longer it takes to do. So it just has to make sure it works for us, because if it's going to take us, the average is probably like 2 months or so to rehab on like a $30,000 rehab or so, as long as you keep your contractors rolling. But it truly depends. So basically, I say if the repair number goes up, the profit needs to go up, because it all equates to the amount of time, and time is money.
Yeah.
Right.
So I even know like some investors, when they buy a house, like even new investors and everything, there's a lot of new investors coming to the market. A lot of times when they want to buy a house, they just like, I'm just going to go do it all myself and not get any permits or anything like that. Just going to all do it themselves. For you, when you do it, you just go through and you just get permits for each one before, or does your contractors do all that?
So it just depends. Like if it's an electrical permit, obviously like the electrician has to pull it. Same for plumbing. because my name's not on the house. My investor purchases the homes, and then I will fund the repairs. So that's like our little partnership.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get there. It didn't start out that way. Like I said, I was a
Yeah.
mentee, my mentor. So
Yeah.
it's very nice to kind of see the fruits of your labor. But if it's like a whole house permit, it just truly depends on the trade, basically, and what we're doing. If it's like a structural, if we're taking out a wall, things like that. So both.
Yeah. So I know like when people are getting started, like the biggest issue that people come across, even myself, is financing the first, I guess your first flip. So even starting out, what was what would you recommend being the best way to start out being a flipper? What would be the finance options?
I mean, for me personally, it really worked out well because I had developed this relationship with an investor who had been doing this for 30 plus years. So in a sense, like I'm truly spoiled. I will say it, be the first one to say it. Not everyone has like that luxury to, already know somebody who does this and teach you and have the buying power behind them. So private money, I would say, is a huge thing. You have to feel comfortable because I know if you go with friends or family and using money from them, things can get a little touch and go. But it doesn't have to just be friends or family. Like you can do private money elsewhere, raising funds. There's different loans out there that you can do. I haven't dabbled too much with the finance side of things, but I know they're out there. There's lenders. It's just you have to get really creative. You can do a home equity line of credit, personal line of credit. Just really depends what the interest rates are doing, which rates right now have been great. And I'll say like I'm not a certified financial advisor, so take what I say as a grain of salt. Yeah, those are just some of the creative ways to do it.
So what was tell us about your biggest flop. Have you ever had one that just, oh my gosh?
Okay, so there was a property we did over off of Great Neck in Virginia Beach. Great area, like beautiful house. The floor plan was a little funky. And this is back probably a couple years ago, so when it was still like a buyer's market for the most part. But we were like, hey, it's a great area, very desirable. Let's not improve it as much and sell it at a discount. And that way someone can kind of come in, it's nice and clean, it's a little dated. But like I said, people can see past that. Someone's looking for a great deal. They're like, oh, fixer upper, we can do it. Yay. Like we were trying to do that as a property. I think due to the floor plan being a little strange and adding the datedness of it all, it just didn't work out. So like I said, we only did I think 10 or 15 grand rehab when we probably should have done a 30 grand rehab.
Yeah.
But like I said, we adjusted the price to it, but it's just, I guess for that particular area and that time, they weren't having it. So we ended up, I don't know if we lost money on that one or if we just broke even, but we might have lost a couple grand on that one. I can't remember. So that was, it just didn't work.
So what would you learn from that? If you went back, would you just change the floor plan to make it more functional or just skip that house altogether?
I don't think I would have skipped it. I think I just would have done the full rehab on it, to be honest. Because with Great Neck in that area, we thought that there would be somebody who wants to come in, great school districts, things like that, and be willing to put in sweat equity. But that buyer wasn't out there. I mean, it took us a very long time to sell that house, so our carrying costs were a little longer, and just learning experience.
So you just, I guess the hardest part for a lot of investors is finding the deals. It's like, so how do you go about being it's so competitive it is, and even normal home buyers, it's hard to find a house and stuff like that. But for you to find the actual flips like that, how do you go about finding the deals? Do you do direct mail? Do you just networking?
So I haven't done direct mailers yet. It can get a little costly because you're sending out mail and stamps constantly. I go through social media a lot. I try to hunt through Facebook, Instagram. I joke and I tell this to everybody. I'm like, I'm a social stalker pretty much. I will find you if you sell houses some way or another. I have the little bandit signs that I'll put out in front of our properties. Car magnets. I just did those past couple months and I got my first deal off of a car magnet. Yep. I done that a couple weeks ago. Someone saw my car sitting out front of a project I was working on. And they saw my We Buy Houses with my phone number, and they came and they knocked on my door hey, we saw your magnets. Do you buy houses? And I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah, I love car magnets because you can take them off when you want to.
Exactly.
Sometimes you don't want to be identified.
I'm the kind of person like, I don't care. It looks tacky, whatever. I'm like, if it gets me a deal, I'm gonna be tacky all day long. Like, I'm that person.
Yeah, I saw this realtor one time. He like put his face on there. He had his whole name on the whole side of his card. So you should do that. Just put your face, and then we buy houses. Alexis Terry. Yeah.
I don't think I want to put my face out there. There's a little too many weirdos these days, but I'm a realtor, so I already get enough like creepy calls as is. So we'll keep it to the nice, cute little house picture.
So when you're looking at houses, is there some things that are like a definite no? Like, is there certain things that maybe something underneath the house? Are there certain things that when you walk through a house, you just say no, and it's a deal breaker?
Probably. I mean, my dad always has the same saying. He's like, houses are sticks, bricks, and mortar. Like, you can pretty much fix anything because you can build it, you can fix it.
Yeah.
But there's a time associated with everything. And he also says, is it worth the squeeze? So I truly don't like to get into like a lot of foundational problems because that stuff tends to get very, very expensive. And then, you get with the floors messing up and, your foundation is hot and horrible, but the tile upstairs may look great. But it's like, once you start fixing that foundation and leveling it back out, the whole rest of the house levels back out. So you pop the tile, you get stress cracks, fractures in the walls, and it's like a trickle down effect. So I just choose to kind of stay away from anything that's like severe foundation issues. But roofs, we do roofs all day long, windows. I'll rip out a kitchen in 2 seconds and put a brand new one in.
Right, yeah, that kitchen's fun too. I've always wanted to take a sledgehammer to cabinets. So it's fun.
Oh my God, you can come. It's a great way to regression.
Yeah. But I actually saw on your Instagram you were going through a house that looked like it was like a hoarder's house. Did you just call hoarders and say, hey, do you have a house that I can buy? Because it was like there was trash everywhere. I was like, oh my goodness.
That was literally on Thursday I went there. That was probably the worst house I had ever been in. That house minimum needed like $80,000 worth of rehab in it. We couldn't walk through the kitchen because the wholesaler was like, all right, we can go in the back way and then we can go in the front way, but we can't walk all the way through. I'm like, all right. So he takes me to the back door, at the side door where the kitchen starts once you get in the house. Massive hole. The window molding's broken out, like rain's intruding from outside. And you could clearly see into the crawl space. Horrible. Trash bags full of beer cans. And the people were living in this house, like up
goodness.
the fire. So it breaks my heart.
Did they own the house, or was it like a rental that they were living
No, they owned it.
okay.
So that the wholesaler, like they had a huge tarp on the roof. So if you're driving this house just like screams at you, like, rehab me.
Was it in Norfolk? Because I think I saw that.
No, it was in Chesapeake, actually.
Oh, okay.
A great part of Chesapeake, like off Mount Pleasant, like it
Oh,
was
my
a
goodness.
beautiful area. Would not expect that, but you literally, like in the living room, had to be very careful because if it didn't have carpet, you would fall through in certain parts. So porters would have a very hard time. You have to like take the flooring out and then put like board down again to be able to take all the crap out. The whole dining room was caved in, and all the trash and hoarding materials.
Yeah, I was watching your video. It looked like what's that little thing when you're kids, all the balls in the pit. That's what it looked like, but it was with trash.
Yeah,
it was like trash is everywhere. Yeah, whatever the ball pit's called.
That's a hoarder pit.
That's probably more accurate. But so even for like that, did you just search like you just drive by that house and hey, that house is horrible. Let me send
if I had seen it across the street, like just driving around, I would definitely stop. I keep like little flyers in my car. I'll go up and knock on the door and be like, hey, this is what we do. We provide this service. If you no longer like choose to be in your house, and if it becomes a danger to you, we're able to take care of that for you, get you out of a situation that's not healthy for your health. And some people not, sickness, maybe they inherited the property. They just don't know how to take care of it because, the average person buys a house, every 5 to 7 years, maybe of their life. So even if you're like 80, you've only done it a handful of times. And especially once the house has reached like a certain point, a house that needs 50 grand in repairs, the average buyer is not going to want to buy that or even qualify to buy that, to be honest. So we offer like a great service to take those things off people's hands and help them, get them their cash. Like we can close minimum of 7 days, long as the title's clean and there's not like, crap ton of hoops to jump through. But this one was brought to us through a wholesaler. So he found it and he went and talked to the people and he got it under contract. So there's definitely a value to wholesalers for sure. Because I'm one person and I can only drive to so many neighborhoods in a day.
You can only DM so many people one day. So.
Literally, I'm getting my carpet tunnel. My fingers are going to fall off.
Or so these people that are just getting into it, if they could hire someone to do 2 inspections, what inspections would you suggest?
Before we go to buy a property?
Yes.
You definitely need to get a termite moisture. I will not buy a property without termite moisture because it can look fine, it can feel fine, but they usually start from the ground up. And, especially if it's a mall, you never know. So that's something that can really bite you in the butt if you don't get a termite moisture prior to closing on the property, because there could be thousands of dollars of damage underneath and you have no idea until you get on there. And I'll crawl properties, but I'm not a termite moisture inspector. I mean, I can see obvious damage, but I don't know
fungus and all that stuff.
Yeah, so they have their value as well. Pay them their $50, $70. Have them it's a very small investment compared to investing thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So if the house has like fungus issues and stuff like that, does that deter you? Like you're like, nah, I won't mess with that, or
do you say termite issues?
Not termite issues, like fungus and algae and all that stuff.
No. I mean, you need fungus treatments. They're out there, so it's just another line item in their repair list. Just get it done.
Yeah, it seems like every termite company wants to put that kind of treatment underneath the house anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and look at our area. We're so close to the beach. Norfolk floods a lot. There's lots of boogies and lots of moisture in our area. That's for sure.
So do you, on any of your flips or deals, do you do any of it like yourself? Would you go in there and do you like tear down or do demo, or do you like do mainly just the design aspect, or what do you do all hands on?
I try to be very well versed in everything I do. Like I had told my investor, like I want to know from the ground all the way up, cradle to grave. So I definitely I don't rehab every single property we do just because that's not like the best use of my time. But if I have like a slow week, or I'm like, you know what, I haven't hit the gym and I'm pretty angry today. Let's just go beat these cabins. I'll definitely do some demoing. I did a lot more of it back in the day. But like I said, trying to find deals is like always the biggest thing that I'm tailored to, trying to constantly hunt and meet new people. But yeah, I definitely do some of the rehab work myself. I have my contractor like, all right, guys, it's learning day. Tools. My dad got me like a DeWalt set a couple years ago. So I got my impact, got my Sawzall. I'm like, all right, let's go to town. You guys are going to teach me today.
So what was the hardest thing of learning? Like, was it when you were trying to learn it all yourself? What was the hardest thing learning? Like, I ain't gonna mess with this. Like,
yeah, honestly, there's so many terms, and especially like when you have no construction knowledge, pretty much. It's just, all right, your brain has to be a sponge and people are throwing stuff at you. These contractors are like the measurements and the soffit and the gable. And I'm like, okay, like what part is the gable? What part is the soffit? Like it becomes so much because it's second nature to them. So they're like spitting it out. And I'm like, all right, let's slow down for a minute. We're going to use our fingers and we're going to point. You're going to teach me like, all right, this is what it is. Because that's just the best way I learn. To be honest, like I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual like doer. I need to do it to truly digest it. So honestly, like not being arrogant and being like, oh yeah, I know that. Like just flat out like, hey, be honest and be open and be like, I don't know this, but I'm wanting to know this. So just guys, slow down with me. Like it's going to take an extra couple seconds. I'm not doing this all day with you. I come in for 10, 15 minutes. Like let me accumulate as much knowledge as I can in that short period of time. And then we'll do it again in a couple days.
Yeah, I always tell people the more you learn about real estate, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's an expert. Like, no. Like, more I learn, the more I realize I don't know anything.
Yep. It's insane. I feel like real estate is something that you will constantly always be learning. Yeah. I mean, the investor I work with, he's been doing this 30 plus years and he runs into stuff today that he has never ran into before. And we put our brains together and we try to figure it out.
Yeah.
I know what I've ran into being in real estate and property management is you have to learn to question them. When I was young, I didn't question anything. You have to really learn to question ask intelligent questions, and usually they'll soften up because some of the older gentlemen that are in it, they'll be a little bit gruff or.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
You just have to get used to it. Like I said, my heart became very hard very quick because they'll spit you up they'll chew you up and spit you out real quick. And it's like, all right, I got knocked down multiple times, very defeated, being like a young woman in the industry. And sometimes I still get like that. There are days that you want to like crawl up in a fetal position and just cry, but you have to like be persistent with it and know like, okay, this is my dream. There's a lot of jerks out there who want to get in the way and tear you down. But if you're persistent enough and you're stubborn enough, you'll get there.
So what is your dream? Where do you want to go from now? I just love women that do kind of this kind of stuff. This is interesting. So what do you want to do now? What's your next step?
I would like to start moving into the buy and hold side of the real estate. I wanted to get a rental property 2020. But since COVID happened, I was like, maybe not the best time to like throw a lot of funds into like a new venture. But now that things are like back in the up and up, I need to like sit down and just get my life straight and be like, all right, this is what I'm doing, because I'd eventually like to scale large multifamily. I want to buy a duplex or a fourplex. That's like my first thing, what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I finally have like enough funds saved up where I feel like I could put a down payment and still be okay in the bank. Not worried like if I get sick, is my house gonna get foreclosed on?
Right.
So are you looking for like almost like a fixture upper with a
yes.
2-4 unit? Okay.
Yeah, like anything like duplex, fourplex, triplex. I want it to be nasty and I want it to be gross.
There you go.
Yep. And I love the design side of things. That is my favorite part. Well, I shouldn't say favorite part of real estate because we get to help like a lot of people. But one of my favorite things, because I've always been a very creative person. Art class was like my best class in school, so just kind of translate as I grew up.
Yeah.
I wasn't very creative like with design or anything until I met my wife. My wife is like really good at design and all that stuff.
I see your Instagram. Y'all are killing it.
That's all her. That's not me.
Yeah, they make a cute team, I think.
So one thing I realized is creativity is such an undervalued asset. Like people don't see like how much value being so creative can really do. And that's why I really draw me into your page on Instagram, because you always do all these interesting designs. And usually when people do flips, it's usually like very basic and everything like that. But yours is kind of like super like something that should be on like TV almost. So.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet.
So what would be like? Where do you get your inspiration for your like designs? Do you just like go on Pinterest or just
I mean,
I'm doing this.
I love Pinterest. I don't really divulge too much into the trends. I mean, I try to stay on trend and keep up and here and there, but I just have fun with it, to be honest. Like my mom's really great at design. She like designed their house and everything. So I feel like part of that is it's something that comes natural to you. And that's something I have fun with, where I feel like I can put colors together fairly well. And, like you said, a lot of flippers kind of do cookie cutter, the same thing over and over again because it saves them time. But this is like a little passion project of mine. So I'm like, one, I can be different. Two, I can have fun with it. So that's where I kind of go. And I just get creative and really try to do something different. But when you are flipping houses, you still have to keep it, a little vanilla, because you're trying to appeal to a vast majority of buyers. And, I don't necessarily want to go put pink and purple tile in if I like pink and purple tile, because not everyone's going to like pink and purple tile.
So you try to keep a little bit design, but you got to make sure it's functional and to the most value of your money. You can't go like super high end and make
no. I always say you can still have very affordable tile and still be cute. Those two can meet.
Exactly. Yeah. And do you ever like go to Home Depot and stuff like that and really shop the sales? Because I know sometimes you can get some pretty good deals there. Is that something that you still do?
Yeah, you definitely can do that. Especially like I said, if I'm doing for one job, as long as there's enough square footage of a material, I definitely try to get stuff that's on sale, because it might be a better product and a better quality that I would put in something else. So if it looks great, better quality, and it's cheap price, I am on it.
Right.
My wife's always about designer material, but at great value prices.
Exactly.
It seems to work, because even things that are super expensive, like there's also always like something that looks almost really, really similar that's way, way cheaper. And it's like not going with name brands and kind of like shopping for deals and everything like that.
Yeah, and or if you see like sometimes like I will see like vanity online, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. I love it, love the color, but it's like $2,000 just for the cabinet. And I'm like, I'm not spending that much money on a little cabinet. So we build it and or I paint it to like I try to find a color that matches it. And I it's like a give and take, I may not be able to achieve the 100% look that I'm trying to do, but you have to remember not to fall in love with the property because it's not your home at the end of the day. It's going to be somebody else's. Most likely they're going to change it up and paint the walls. So, you don't want to overspend and get too emotionally involved when you don't need to spend that money because at the end of the day, it affects your bottom dollar. And it is a business. So you can't throw everything at it, even though I really have to constantly remind myself, like, all right, Alexis, keep it on budget, keep it moving.
Yeah, you're just like money, HDTV. Which one's more important?
They have so many cool designs.
Yeah. Oh, you say like the little angel and devil?
Yeah.
Oh, no, but so for someone who just starting out, so what would be your best advice? Like, if I was coming to you like right now, it's like, hey, Alexis, I really want to get into flipping. I don't really have any experience. What should I do? Should I just go to like one of your investor meetups that you were telling us about earlier? Like,
for sure. Like I said, so we had just started. My friend and I, Rob, have just started an investor meetup, real estate investment meetup. We had our first one on Thursday down at Commonwealth Brewery. It was great, super laid back. I think we had probably close to 50 people like throughout the whole night, maybe. Through Bigger Pockets. Not sure if you guys are familiar with Bigger Pockets at all. It's a real estate forum, so able to meet a lot of people out there. And then again, DMing people on Instagram like, hey, come. Like, you don't have to have experience, but there are a lot of people there that do have experience. So it's a great way to come out and meet and network with people. Like-minded people was like the whole premise of why we started this, because especially since we're younger, we have a hard time finding like-minded people our age or near our age, where once you get bit by the real estate bug, it doesn't go anywhere. All you want to do is talk about real estate.
Yeah.
And all my friends are always like, okay, Alexis, like, we get it. You love real estate. Like, move on with your life. I'm like, okay, guys, but I can't. Like, I love it. And that's all I want to talk about.
That's what my wife's constant conversation with me is like, babe, I understand you really love this, but not everyone wants to talk about this. I was like, well, they need to.
That's right.
So much fun. We're going to create a Facebook page, and I share stuff on my Instagram about it. So it's, like I said, we're in the beginning of it, but we wanted to keep like that social setting available because there's a lot of great meetups out there. But we wanted something that was a little bit more socially oriented, where you can network with people, meet other people, more laid back, because I feel like a lot of meetups are very structured and they have guest speakers, which is amazing because there's a ton of knowledge and to be learned from that. But I feel it can be kind of intimidating, especially for like newbie investors or people that just don't have experience. Sorry, my cats are playing with the Christmas balls.
It's okay.
But yeah, so I feel like at a brewery or something laid back, people are more apt to ask questions, and it's okay, and it feels like a safer space. Sure, because like I said, I was that person at one point as well. Warren Buffett was that person at one point as well. He didn't like pop out of the room and start making deals. Like, he had to learn and start somewhere. And we all have that capability, just depending on what your drive is, your ambition, and just pulling the trigger, getting started. Because a lot of people can have analysis paralysis, and that can get you hung up. And that's why it's taken me so long to get to the point of, okay, like, I'm going to do some buy and holds eventually, because I've been so scared. I kind of stayed in the fix and flip industry for so long.
Getting out of your comfort zone, kind of.
What's that?
Like, kind of getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. So I got thrown into the fire how I originally started because my dad was sick and I was just trying to like keep his stuff going. But if it wasn't for that, who knows if I would have ever really found my true passion, and if for my investor to give me that opportunity to take a chance on me, some young 20-year-old little girl who looks nothing like she would be in the business. So I owe my life to them, honestly. But yeah, come to one of our meetups. Best thing to do, like, first step is, you could have 100% of it right with the rehab contractors, realtor, but you do have to have your financing down, because you can have all those things right, but the bank's not going to give you the property. You're not going to be able to close on it if you don't have your financing down. So that's the first thing I would say for people to kind of get locked in under their belt, kind of have an idea of what path they're going to take through the financing field, because there are a lot of options there.
Yeah. Huh. So
Yeah, no, nothing. Just tell us about where we can find you on Instagram, your website.
Okay, yeah. My Instagram is Alexis Terry 7, T's and Tom. I post a lot of stuff on there. I also have like a We Buy Houses Instagram. It's We Buy Houses VA. Trying to post more on there. But it's a learning battle. I joke with people. I'm like, I hate social media. Like, it's hard. Like, you actually like, really think about it.
Yeah, no, it's
And I also have WeBuyHousesVA.net as our website, where if someone out there is curious about wanting to possibly sell us their house, you can go out there, fill out a form. We don't sell your information to anybody at all. Just comes to my email, and I'll give you a call.
And tell us one more time, what's the name of that meetup? I know those are popular right now.
Resolve Real Estate Investors Meetup, because we resolve problems.
Where would you go to find more information about that?
Come to just follow me on Instagram. Honestly, my Alexis Terry 7, or my partner that does the meetup with me is Rent Ready Rob on Instagram. We haven't made the Facebook group. That's like literally on our to-do list. Because, I was a little apprehensive. I was like, oh, maybe like 5 people are going to show up. Like, I don't know. And then it was like 6 o'clock. Like, so the thing was at 6 o'clock, and I was like, wow, there's one person here. Great, this is going awesome. And then a bunch of people end up showing up. So I think it's something.
These are the people you can just sit there and talk about real estate and all the time too. So.
That's the whole premise. That was literally the whole premise of it. So follow me or follow Rob, and we will have it out. And then this week we'll probably have the Facebook group up and running, and I'll just DM people to be like, hey, we're moving it to Facebook, and I text people, stuff like that. When you're in real estate, like, your phone is your life, so it's never more than 5 feet from me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows all about that. She lost her phone.
Yeah, I don't know. It was debilitating for almost a day and a half.
I keep saying she did it on purpose. She's like, I needed a break. Just threw it away.
It's like, oops,
nice.
Do it.
Yeah. But I appreciate you doing this, and I really wanted to bring you on this because I've seen your Instagram and love your designs and everything like that. And I'm really glad that you were able to come on here and share.
You guys are so sweet. This was like such a humbling experience. Like, I always tell people I feel like I have imposter syndrome. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But,
I feel like that all the time. I feel like, man, I like telling people to like what to buy houses and stuff like that, investing and stuff like that. Like, I mean, even if you've done it for years, like, it's still like there's so much you don't know.
It's investments for people. You have to realize it's one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, this has changed my life forever. And real estate is such a great tool to change people's lives. You can do it as your job. You can use it as retirement. Do it to diversify your portfolio. I mean, there's just different avenues that real estate is always the answer to me.
That's really keep on going. I just love the fact that you're a strong woman and you started out young. It's just real inspiring.
Well, thank you so much. If you come to any house next time you can come over and demo it with me. We'll do a little video.
I'm there.
So I guess one way someone can start is if they find a deal, they can always wholesale it to you because you would be a buyer that would be willing to buy.
Yes, 100%. I work with people all day long. On my little business cards, it says we'll give you anywhere from a $500 to $5,000 referral fee. So if you have a deal and you're not ready to buy it yet, you can still make money. Bring it to me. I will be more than happy. And like I said, between me and my investor, we have the funds to be able to constantly buy properties. I want to buy a property tomorrow. I want to buy a property 5 years from now. So always bring them to me. And we don't play those games like a lot of people do. We're like, oh, well, I'll give you this. Or, okay, no, maybe we'll give you this. Like, no, I come in straight ahead. Like, I know exactly what we have to make. I just need to walk through the property to get a repair number. I have like a little sheet that I prefabricated. It's line item, basically. I'll be honest with you. I'll be like, all right, this is how much I need to repair your house to be able to sell at this price. There's base cost, which is pretty standard. You've got your closing costs. You've got your real estate fees, all that jazz. That's a set number. So your profits, the only thing kind of goes up and down on that. And there's X amount that we have to make because this is a business. I like to pay my mortgage and feed the cats, and eat. But we're not trying to rip anybody off. We're just trying to make a living and give service to them, have a job for us to do, and at the end of the day, hopefully it works out for both of us.
So if you
I like
see,
that.
so if you see people driving and this guy's got a tarp on the roof, they should DM you and say, "Hey, what about this house?" Or your neighbors hoard a lot of stuff.
Take a picture.
Alexis wants that house.
Yes, that's a legit. That's a way of real estate investing. It's called driving for dollars. You drive around neighborhoods,
exactly.
properties that maybe need a little bit of TLC. Uber drivers are my favorite. If there's any Uber drivers out there, call me, because you guys drive around houses all day long. You drive through neighborhoods all day long. And my friends always joke me because whenever we go out, I give the Uber drivers my business cards. I'm like,
I do that all the time.
Never know who gets in that car.
Like, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. But thank you for coming on here.
Thank you guys for having me. You guys were so much fun. We'll have to have our meetup. Please come. It'll be so much fun. We've never met in person.